when you don't know what to do the next right thing. And I feel like that's the way I found peace with the uncontrollable, the instability of it all. It's just do the next right thing. What would you do in this moment if you weren't worried about the bottom line or paying the bills? Or I'd write a handwritten note or call a friend or make a lunch date.
So, Allison Holden,
Hello.
Berkshire Hathaway, famous realtor, superstar. Thank you for doing this with me. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing me in.
So, you want to talk about a little business first? Well, so now we've got a lot of stuff with stuff you've got going on. Let's talk about 2025, and I know kind of some of your progression. So I should have looked this up, but I think is this year number 5?
This is actually my 3rd full year. But I make it look like it's 5.
There you go. Okay, so 3rd full year. So kind of backtracking, that would be Spot 2022, right? I think you told me this before. So you kind of came in on the heels of the craziness.
Yes.
Not quite all of the craziness, but maybe some of that's still going on in the real estate industry.
It was. In fact, my first deal ever, I'll never forget it because it was so wild. So Emily had let me do an open house at one of her listings. And I remember she had texted me earlier that day. It was a Sunday. She's like, hey girl, we've got like 4 offers on this house right now. If you don't want to do this open house, if you just want to hang out at home, that's totally fine. But I needed the experience. I needed to get comfortable doing open houses. So I decided to.
It's a great way to.
It is. Yeah, meet people, just get comfortable talking to people about real estate out in the wild. So I was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. So I went and did it. First people that come in, sweetest couple ever. They're like, we want this house. This is our house. I was like, okay. So I said, first question I asked is, are you pre-approved?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Of course, multiple offers. I get them pre-approved that afternoon. We submit an offer. I had to have Tiffany, my broker, help me at the time. And we won it. But we had to go well over the asking prices, I'm sure you could imagine.
Well, that was kind of the norm.
That was
but
it was.
But so 1 for 1. So one lead, one conversation, one accepted offer, and one closed transaction. Right. So right out of the gates, it was pretty easy for you, huh?
I was batting 100%.
Batting 100%. So.
And I just sold
1,000.
1,000. Oh, yeah, not a baseball. Yeah.
Good about later. So so after that, I mean that's late. What's that? 2022, right?
That's like May of 2022.
Okay, so really that was kind of a shift, right? 2022 seemed to be where things really kind of moved from this really hot market where, overpaying, paying more than asking price, listing price, however you want to frame that, was necessary in some cases if someone wanted to buy a home. To rates started to move up, and of course we moved into a completely different environment.
Yeah.
But your business has continued to build. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you went from that very first deal to where it was easy to probably encountering, some resistance, some market resistance, some market challenges, and how you've continued to build your business, because I think you told me this is your best year yet, right? So you continue to build.
It should be.
I've still got a few months left.
I've still got a few months left, but I'm really riding toe in toe with my 2023, which is my average year. Yeah, I mean, I really feel like I've relied really heavily on sphere of influence. I've worked with a lot of past coworkers, a lot of friends and their referrals. In fact, that first open house couple came back to me this year and asked me to sell another house that they had in Bartlett. And so I got to work with them again. And, it's one of those things where you never take it for granted, obviously. You never know that someone's going to trust you or lean on you or rely on you for their real estate needs, but you just keep putting yourself out there and saying, hey, I'm available. Hey, I'm in real estate. And I think that constant communication and just going into it with an open heart and like the hope that someone will give you a chance and trust you, and then to see where it goes from
there. You have to go out on a limb a little bit with that, right?
It's a very uncomfortable thing in the beginning. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I mean the switch from going to that W-2 life, to that 1099 life, is basically like going out in the street with a sign, hey, I'm available for hire. I mean, it's so uncomfortable. And I appreciate the people that have received that with open arms, because I think there is some judgment with entrepreneurship sometimes until you reach a level of success. People say, we'll see how it goes. Right.
Well, and we've seen, especially in today's world, and in real estate, and we've talked about this before, you see what everybody else is doing, or the perception of what everybody else is doing, and you're just getting started going, I've got to run this race, and, I've got to catch up, and the pressure to do so, and pressure to just earn a living, going from a W-2 wage to zero,
right?
And starting from scratch. And so it does take that resiliency, and that's true in mortgage and real estate. Most real estate related, industries, that it does take the ability to put yourself out there.
Yes.
Ability to bounce back from rejection.
Right.
Because we've all been told no. I've lost deals, whether it was they chose another lender or what have you, and you feel like, well, gosh, I'm never going to make another mortgage loan again, or you lose a real estate client and you go, what in the world did I do wrong? And how important it is to us, not just from a monetary standpoint, but also a prideful and running to run your business, and that's a thing you have to balance. You really have to know that I'm doing the right things, I'm going through the right processes, and that things will work out if I do put myself out there with an open heart and an open mind.
There's some faith to it, right? You just kind of have to trust that when you take that leap, the universe is going to reach its hand out, and kind of catch you. And I've been really, thankful and blessed to be so well received in that way. I think it helps that I came from a background in real estate. So people knew I was in real estate for 7 years before I ever got licensed. And I think that was a cushion effect for me going out there. They weren't just like, oh, you went from...
This was something completely new for you.
Exactly. When I was doing that first deal, it wasn't like I was really doing my first deal. I was doing hundreds of deals a year with that investment real estate company that I was at. So the processes of it all were very familiar to me.
You knew how to transact. You knew
Right.
what a buy and a sell looked like.
Right.
You knew what a contract looked like.
Right.
So from all of those fundamentals, it was now just applying how do you do that and sell Allison Holden
Right.
versus selling your real estate investment company that you were working.
Yes, that's right.
So what do you do? I know you do a lot of stuff. I watch your social media stuff. You said you work in your sphere, and I think it's good for maybe other agents who are in a similar spot, who've gotten in the business maybe last year or this year. What is it that you feel like you've done to work your sphere? Because you certainly utilize that. You've not had to go buy a bunch of leads. You've not had to pay a whole lot of marketing. But you've been able to do that in kind of a targeted way to the people that already somewhat knew you, right? And so you had that built in. But how do you do that? Because it's something in my business too that I'm always trying to do, and other mortgage loan officers are constantly looking at, is how to get more out of the people who already know us, and working that past client database or that database that you already have. So what are some of the things that you've done, and don't give away any of your major secrets, but that you feel like has brought some success to you?
This is honestly a tough question for me, Travis, because I feel like
We're here to ask the real
dig down,
Hard-hitting questions.
dig deep. I truly feel like it comes from deeper down than any action. It comes from the spirit behind the action. I really think I let people know me. I really think I let people know the real me. And even when I started in real estate, I didn't put on some persona.
Try to be something you're not.
Yeah.
No.
I did have an affection for blazers there for a moment. I was really rocking a blazer moment in my life. But that was just me, and I was feeling my professional era come in. No, I think that people that knew me 10 years ago feel like they still know me.
Yeah.
I think that my authenticity, vulnerability allows people to feel that connection with me. And that's one of the reasons that I use social media the way that I do, is because I'm not always getting to connect with my friends that have families and they're busy and they have multiple kids, or they are working, full-time 9-to-5 jobs. And they're scrolling at night and I want to be like, hi, because it's just a fact of life. We're busy and we're not always able to get FaceTime with people. But I do also try to, because let's face it, in this career choice, there can be some free time. I know everyone wants to look like they're hustling 24/7, but there are some free times, at least for me, I'll speak personally, where I'm able to sit and think, how can I make my people feel special? How can I show them love? And it's not a direct correlation to like, how can I get their referrals?
Not necessarily a direct ask for the
No,
business.
right. It's just like, how can I stay relevant to them or let them know that I'm still thinking of them after the transaction has ended?
Yeah. I think the authenticity, being genuine, and I think that relates to whether it's real estate, mortgage, and any sales really. I think it's 2025. I read some of these sales seminars or these things, and I'm like, that's not me. I could never pull that off. Right? I'm sure it works for somebody. That's not me. Yeah. And I think that finding your lane and your path and your authentic voice, no matter what sales industry we're in, when we're speaking to our potential customers, prospects, whoever we're talking to, is to keep that keep it real. And I think that's the best way to say it is that it's not, you don't have two different faces, in terms of here's my real estate face and here's my not. Oh, and of course, everybody has different personalities in different settings, and that's human nature. But knowing that your customers really know you keeps them coming back to you and keeps them referring to you. And it's a good lesson for me and everybody else to kind of take from these conversations of just a reminder. And it's something that we all know, but we look at, I'm going to email all these past clients and I'm going to do this and that and the other for these past clients. And in all seriousness, really all they want is to know you're still my guy or girl. I'm still coming back to you if I need something. You still remember who I am, and you still have my best interest at heart in terms of, whatever service we're providing.
And to speak on that, I want people to know and have faith and trust in that I'm going to treat you just like I would my daughter or my cousin or my brother or sister or whatever. That you really are in a way family to me, in that I'm not going to treat you differently regardless of the level at which we know each other at. I want to genuinely provide value in the world, and I feel like the conduit for the way that I do that is real estate or real estate transactions. But the giving of value and just being a member of the world community at large, or the world that I happen to be in, which is Memphis, is the real goal. And keeping that in mind and having that quiet time to like reflect back and sit back on what is the real goal here. It's not the number of transactions, it's the number of families helped, is keep helping me keep centered in that world of, there are so many realtors, there are so many flashy award ceremonies and sales numbers and things like that, and we do have to make a living, but I think we have to add value to receive value back, and that value is monetary, it's referrals, it's trust and love.
I love the thoughtfulness of it, because it in running a business, and as a realtor, you're running your own business. You're part of a brokerage and a bigger organization, but you're also kind of responsible for making your own living. And I love the thoughtfulness of it in terms of not only the value that you bring to clients, and not only the perception of and genuinely caring about their best interests, but also too, it sets a standard for you that's beyond some of those metrics, and it sets a what is success, and I think we asked that question. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do all of these things, and I'm going to work, all of these hours, and I'm going to do all of this stuff. And I'm as guilty, if you know me, I'm as guilty of that as anybody, is that I, am going to go to the ends of the earth to build my business, to do everything I possibly can to help my clients, to be there for my realtor partners. And at the end of it too, it's also that for me personally, I need to stop and go, well, when is enough? And what is the measure of success that we're looking for, and setting those goals that are not just based on numbers, or not just based on production. I think it brings you the right mindset to continue to to do the things and build your business even when it gets tough, right? So kind of framing this whole conversation of, you started in 2022, that, things are somewhat easy, right? You kind of caught the tail end of that,
Right.
and then the market really shifts
Right.
very quickly, and you find some headwinds to the market. Oh, well, this isn't so easy, but finding that bigger purpose of your business really allows you to kind of move through those harder times.
Right.
And I have to remind myself of that too, because you lose a deal or your phone doesn't ring one weekend. I said, oh, never going to write another deal.
It was terribly scary.
Terribly scary. Yeah. The silence is very loud.
No matter what kind of year you've had, the anxiety is there. Yeah.
We've had a great year.
Yeah.
And I guess it was right around time school starts. I was talking to another loan officer and I said, how's your business been this year? It's been pretty good. I said, but have you been slow? He said, yeah, kind of slow last couple of weeks. I said, I don't mean this the wrong way, but good, because it was scaring me to death that my phone, again, so it's school starting kind of, in that August where summer's ending and that transition of season and people kind of, their interest and focus moves elsewhere. But yeah, it gets very scary. And using that time too, as you mentioned, to, okay, let's not hit the panic button. Let's not go try to reinvent Allison.
Right.
Let's just go back to basics. Let's, let's talk to my people, right? Whether it's social media or handwritten cards. I know we've talked about that. I know you do a lot of those.
Yeah.
Where let me just go talk to some people and things will kind of gradually work out.
Yeah.
It is that faith.
It is that faith. I think you will drive yourself crazy without it, because there is never a finish line. And that's what these few short years in this career so far have taught me is you get to the end of 2025, guess what you have to eat in 2026. No matter what you did in 2025, you're doing it again in 2026. And if you don't find a pattern or a life that you can go to sleep peacefully at night with, that's not really success. And I don't mind, and I know you don't either, taking a phone call at 8:30 sometimes, or getting a deal done at 9, I mean, it happens. That's the work. But I go to sleep feeling good about what I've done that day. And if I wake up and there's one day where I don't have something going on, well, I call that kind of my reading time. I'm like, well, let me catch up on what's the market's doing, or, and then I'll be like, oh, this is good for people to know. And that's kind of when I make my little social media video.
So have you done any look forward to 2026, kind of where you want to be? I know you're still focused on, finishing 2025, but do you have any thoughts, any of your clients who might see this, who might be thinking about buying next year? Where do you think we're headed?
Ooh, I don't know, but I know there are people out there that need to buy a home or sell their home. I've got, what first came to mind was I got a very sweet couple of mine who are getting married at the end of next month, and they want to buy a home. And so I've got that on my radar. They're already very excited about that. That makes me excited for them. I don't know. I feel like there will just be more of that. I hope. I don't know as a market, and I try not to pay too much attention to that, because I feel like it detracts a little bit.
You can get lost in it.
You can get lost in it.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to pay attention to like what's right in front of you. Like, who's next? Who needs me next? And
well, that goes back to staying connected to your customer, because you just mentioned you've got a customer or a friend, probably somebody is already getting married,
Right.
And you've already connected with them in this stage of their life and the marriage, and then what comes next, and how you're a part of that.
yeah, a deal we're working right now has been a long time in the making. So I think it's just looking ahead in that way.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, one thing.
In a sense, I mean,
yeah, and one thing I feel like with housing is that we're a little bit, maybe immune is not the right word, but we're a little removed from economic conditions that affect other things sometimes. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but
Like, housing is built off of demand, supply and demand. It's pretty pure.
yeah.
And people always need a place to live. So I think the world at large, or at least capitalism kind of works off a system of fear and being like, oh my God, it's all ending. Oh my gosh, you better make it. And I see videos like that all day long, like, you need to buy a house this year. And I'm like, what if they're not ready? You're making it sound like 2026 is not also going to be a great year to buy a house. I think it's about knowledge or awareness over fear. I mean, you could mirror this to anything, a home inspection or anything else. It's not about fear. It's about, knowing kind of where we're at. And that's part of my job. When I get in front of people and we start talking about, all right, what are we doing here? We're buying or selling. All right, this is the market condition right now. We're going to operate within that, and we're still going to find our way to success.
And I don't think that the average home buyer, say this the right way, really even cares.
Right. They have a need.
They have a need. They have a life and death.
Yes.
Married, have 1 children. Or some home buyer who's just ready to buy a house.
That's right.
And of course, there are market conditions that make that more favorable or less favorable, depending on home prices and interest rates and market supply. We've gone through places where we had low inventory. Now inventory is increasing. So all of those are macroeconomic type of influences on home buyers. But at the end of the day, we just have a couple or an individual who is ready to buy a house. They're financially ready, they're emotionally ready. They're kind of at that time in their life. And so whether or not the right time to buy was in 25 versus 26, they're just ready when they're ready.
Yes.
And I think interjecting ourselves into their lives when at that particular moment, and I think it provides that we're here to provide a service when you're ready. Right. And I tell people all the time, I can't make you buy a house. As our realtors are to make them buy a house.
Right.
Maybe they should, but just not ready.
Yes.
And I think at some point, once they're ready, and I think that's a good conversation about maybe to even some of my clients of what I talk to is like, okay, you may not know.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation before, especially with first-time home buyers. It's a big thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got to apply with a mortgage company or a bank. I got to go talk to.
It's intimidating.
It's intimidating, and it's not that serious, and it's not that intimidating. Yeah. It really is just a conversation.
Right.
And we've done some marketing of promoting that. Mm-hmm. If you think you're ready to buy, let's just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your budget. Let's talk about where you are financially. Let's see if all of that kind of fits the greater market, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I need a mortgage payment of X and I need so much square footage and I just can't,
Sure.
can't get this, right? And we've seen that with these existing homeowners too. They're sitting on a 3% interest rate. I just can't afford to move. So there's all kinds of conditions, and everybody's different. But even to that point, we've seen an uptick and an increase in people who are selling their home and buying a bigger home, and they are leaving a 3%.
They are.
And it's slowly kind of starting to move. Where a year or so ago that was completely stuck. Things are certainly improving as far as existing homeowners buying a new house. So I'm with you. And I'm guilty of looking and forecasting and reading all of the stuff, and I don't know what good it does me.
It's your world.
It is my world, and I probably should read it because somebody else may ask me about it.
That's right.
I may
Being informed is
some kind of answer, but the people I'm reading don't know either.
Yeah.
They don't know either.
That's such a good
point. And we've looked at all and no shade to them, but some of the economists they're forecasting,
right,
they're predicting. I've many of years looked at, I think this last couple of years has been an indicator. We thought rates would be lower by now.
That was exactly what I was going to bring up. Wasn't there literature? Because I know if I heard it one time, I heard it 5 times. Was that rates were going to fall 5 times this year? Was it this year or last year?
We were expecting more rate cuts.
I think it was this year.
Yeah.
After the election and this and this and this and da 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 da. It's just all talking heads, which I guess is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's about to.
But I think it's that is human nature to want to look ahead and find stability. We're all anxious creatures, at varying levels, and we want to look ahead and find stability.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Not at all.
There's nothing wrong with forecasting. But it can go to a degree, certainly in my business, and I think about what grows my business, are relationships with people like you. And, the more I work on that, the better things typically get for me.
Yeah.
I can be worried about rates going up. I can be worried about home prices. I can be worried about all these things, but it takes away from things. And those are things I keep to. I cannot control those.
Right.
So it kind of takes away my focus from that. And I think you're kind of full circle here, spending those quiet hours when your phone's not working, phone's not ringing. Make sure it's working. First
Always.
off,
Yep.
make sure your phone's working. It's not ringing.
Is my phone ever off? No.
Right. If your phone's not ringing, and sometimes you got to check to make sure it's working. Assuming it's working and still not ringing, then using that time wisely to continue on your fundamentals of your core business, and not worrying and looking into the abyss of, things.
It's deep and dark down there.
That's right. And things will never get better, and you get lost in all that, and there's no sense in it, and there's no value.
Well, and I kept waiting for they kept saying, oh, the more business you do, the more business you'll do. So I kept waiting for that, oh, it's just going to even out at some point, and I'm going to do 2 or 3 deals a month, and I'll just have a nice little steady paycheck. That does not exist. And my older, or I should say my more experienced, Lewis, Tiffany, they're like, oh, honey, that's never coming. That's not this world.
It's not a straight line.
Not a straight line. And so I have had to find peace with that. And that's, going back to the jump W-2 to 10. I mean, that has been one of the hardest parts of it. But I think that looking for that stability, that's exactly what I'm doing in that way,
and I think it brings up an interesting thing. I have read books on, entrepreneurship, obviously running a business. And I think this is also some value to, you also have to be very mindful for your own finances. Yes. In terms of riding out those waves. And that, I read something that really resonated with me, and I'm sure if you read that kind of stuff, they talk about businesses that fail not because of the business, but because of the owner's finances, and the owner had a great year the first year, right? And changed his or her lifestyle. And the next thing you know, things change the second year, and now the business can't succeed because the owners created a lifestyle to support. Yes. And I think that's very true with realtors too, is being able to ride the wave. Mortgage loan officers certainly experience it too, where it's not going to be a straight line, and income's going to come and go as far as, you'll have bigger months than others. And what I've also come to peace with is that I have no control over it.
Right.
Going back to kind of this whole conversation is what I can and cannot control.
Yes.
And I can, work my realtor base. I can work my past client base. I can do the marketing. I could do all the fundamentals and the things that I know I should be doing. But I can't control when someone actually decides to buy a house.
Yes.
I can't even control sometimes when the contract closing date is. I could have a whole bunch of business that's going to close in, December versus November. And when that income actually comes into our company can vary a lot, so there is a lot of things in real estate that are uncontrollable. I think that maybe we found the title for our chat is real estate is some uncontrollable. But I think that's a good lesson for any realtors watching, and maybe some that they're coming after you too, because now you're a seasoned vet. In year 3, you're going to be now the seasoned vet that people start to look at and ask for advice.
Yeah. Well, I'll give credit where credit's due. David McLemore said something that really impacted me very early on, and he says it a lot. And I'll frame it like this. I had a newer realtor. She was going through school, about to take her test, deciding where she wanted to place her license. She asked to have a little phone chat with me. This has been a couple months ago. And she said she had been basically interviewing other realtors, and she had friended every realtor she could find on social media. And she's like, did you do that when you started? And I was like, no, I sure didn't. Because I didn't want to feel intimidated, and I didn't want to feel, and I honestly didn't think to do it. But she was sourcing it that way, you know, trying to like kind of imitate what she saw as greatness. And David McLemore says, you have to do, when you don't know what to do the next right thing. And I feel like that's the way I found peace with the uncontrollable, the instability of it all. It's just do the next right thing. What would you do in this moment if you weren't worried about the bottom line or paying the bills? Or I'd write a handwritten note or call a friend or make a lunch date with somebody that I just genuinely wanted to check in.
Such good advice. It is such good advice, and good advice for me too. Like I it is a good reminder, and I try to do that regularly, and I seem to come back to that every few weeks of going, okay, all right, you know, this little 3-week mini sprint. Okay, now what's next, and how do you do the what's next kind of thing is like you're not knowing of, okay, I don't want to do the wrong thing. There's not necessarily a wrong thing to do. Just keep moving.
But I think that's what helps is we're in it together. And when you really know people, you see behind the appearances, because we're all out there trying to look successful. We're all out there trying to look.
Should you get a guitar?
We're gonna cut this part. Okay, so the funny thing about that is, well, the real funny thing is it's a term, it's a deduction. No, the funny thing is, when you were talking earlier about, what were you saying? Oh, you got me off track here. What were you saying about? Changing a lifestyle. And you said realtors or people in this industry have a good year and then they kind of change to the lifestyle. What's the joke about us that we're out leasing a white Mercedes or a white VW and we got the luxury bag? I mean, I literally went and did that.
Yeah.
I didn't lease it. I paid cash.
So, there you go.
So, what? No. Okay, no.
There you go. There you go. We'll have to cut some of that. We don't want to.
We'll cut some of that. We'll cut maybe all of that.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about other things. You know, you obviously lead with your heart in terms of your real estate. And I know that your firm now has partnered with LeBarner and some of the things, and I know that's, you know, near and dear to your heart. And I know you've done some fundraisers lately for it. Talk a little bit about your firm's partnership and what you guys are doing with LeBarner.
It's such an exciting time. I'm so proud of David and Tiffany for doing this. It had been on their heart, I think, to find a way to further partner our firm with some type of charitable organization or some type of nonprofit. And I think things just fell into place for them with LeBarner, where they did a partnership with LeBarner where each agent is going to donate a portion of their closings.
Yep.
For every house sold, we're going to donate a portion of our commission, and David Tiffany are going to match that on the first season. So it's incredible.
Yeah, that's fantastic too, in terms of the buy-in that you mentioned. Every agent in your firm is bought into doing this.
Over the year. So
I think it was optional.
It's optional.
But yeah.
But I'm sure, knowing your group, you're going to have
I think the majority for sure we're going to do it.
a large, you know, participation with that. And I think that is such a cultural thing that it's great about your firm as well too. And I work with a lot of agents in your office, and I've certainly seen that the culture that you guys have. And I think that's a really great thing that Dave and Tiffany with their leadership has done. And, you know, part of our this podcast, this Local Supports Local, you said Dave and Tiffany were looking for ways to partner or give back, and we're doing the same thing with this podcast. This is the Local Supports Local podcast, and we're getting this off the ground, obviously talking to, you know, people that are in real estate and even some outside of other professions as well. And our mission really with the Local Supports Local is to try to give back to certain, you know, segments of our community, of people that are doing well and doing good works that we don't always see. And there's a ton of big organizations here in town that do fantastic work. There's a lot of small organizations in town that are doing fantastic work, and just a way to shine light on that. But we've got a similar deal where we're now taking a portion of our closed loan proceeds and giving it through our Local Supports Local charity, where we're going to help with heroes, which is our police, our fire, our nurses, our teachers, our frontline responders, and to help them with the cost of home ownership. And it just resonated when I saw that. It's great to know other people, and so many people in our real estate community in Memphis do such good things,
Yes.
and they do such good things. And it really is, real estate touches people's lives. They know a lot of people. Real estate agents know a lot of people.
Right.
And to be able to kind of spread that messaging and to spread opportunities to do really good things, I think is really important.
I could not agree more. Real estate is such a community sport in so many ways. We have such a hand in the community, shaping communities, and we have time to give back. Most of us do. And I think it's so awesome when somebody turns their focus to that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, it was really inspiring to see you guys, because I know you guys had a big rollout here recently. And you've had, personally, I know that you just raised a good bit of money for Le Bonheur too with the pumpkin run. Tell me about, how did that go?
And thank you for your help with that.
Oh, sure.
So that's kind of my annual little public outreach as far as raising money myself personally for Le Bonheur. And I'm always so astounded by the response that I get. Last year we raised something like $967. This year we crested over the $2,000 mark.
Cool.
So really, really just an amazing showing from my friends and family.
Yeah, and call your sphere, and it's great that you're mixing that, and that your sphere is not only supporting your real estate business, but those other tasks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's one thing people know about me. I'm a heart patient at Le Bonheur. Always will be. 41 years old. I'll always go to Le Bonheur. So it's deeply personal for me. I was just at Le Bonheur this June having heart surgery. I think my 7th one. And it's no fun. But Le Bonheur is such a special place. I mean, just again, speaking personally, there is no other place nearby that could take care of me. I have a specialized complex defect, and there are truly specialized cardiologists that are only at Le Bonheur. And I think it's so much more than people think. Like, retaining that kind of talent in Memphis, it takes money and community and a reason to stay here. And I want them to stay. So whatever I need to do to make that happen, whatever my little part of that can be.
Well, it's fantastic that you did that. Fantastic that your firm's, supporting it. And thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank
Did
you
you have
so
fun?
much. I had so much fun.
Good. I
It was
appreciate
great.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Okay, bail to you.